One morning, I stepped onto my porch with a steaming mug of coffee, ready to soak in the quiet of a Saturday. When I saw it, my front yard looked like a swamp. Not a cute, "Oh, it rained last night," kind of wet. No, this was a full-on, puddle-soaked, squish-under-your-slippers disaster. I blinked, thinking maybe I was still half asleep, but the evidence was undeniable. My grass was drowning, and I hadn't touched the hose in days. Hey, you. Yeah, you reading this. Ever had that moment where you realize something's seriously off in your own backyard? Stick with me, because this gets wild. I'm Jake, by the way. Jake Miller. Just a regular guy living in a tidy little suburb outside Raleigh, North Carolina. I've got a small house, a decent job fixing cars at a local garage, and a tomato plant that's been fighting for its life since I planted it. No kids, no roommates, no secret midnight gardening crew. So why was my lawn wetter than a Florida summer? I took a sip of coffee, squinted at the mess, and noticed something else. The hose coiled by the spigot was damp, like it had been used hours ago. I don't have sprinklers. I don't sleepwalk. And I sure don't water my lawn at 3 a.m. Something was up. Now, I'm not the paranoid type, but I started piecing it together. My water bill last month had jumped from $35 to $87. I'd brushed it off. Maybe a leak. Maybe I'd showered too long after a sweaty day under a Chevy. But standing there, staring at that soggy grass, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Someone was using my water. And not just a little. We're talking gallons. I set my mug down, grabbed my phone, and decided to play detective. First stop, the spigot. It was tight, no drips, but the hose felt warm to the touch, freshly used. Second stop, the neighbors. Across the street, Emily Parker was unloading groceries from her minivan, her two kids darting around like caffeine-fueled tornadoes. She's the kind of mom who waves at everyone and bakes cookies for no reason. "Hey, Em," I called out, strolling over. "You notice anything weird with my yard lately?" She glanced over, juggling a bag of apples, and laughed. "Jake, it looks like you're auditioning for Lakefront Property of the Year." I grinned, but pressed her. "Seriously, anyone messing with my hose?" She shook her head, then paused. "Well, Karen's been out there a lot. You know, the new lady? Always with that clipboard, eyeballing everyone's lawns like she's the HOA queen." Karen. Of course. Karen Sullivan had moved into the cul-de-sac 3 months ago, and she'd wasted no time making herself the neighborhood's unofficial dictator. She wasn't even on the HOA board, but you'd never guess it from the way she strutted around in her oversized sun hat, scribbling notes about whose mailbox was too faded or whose dog barked too loud. Last week, she told Ryan Carter, nice guy, lives 2 houses down, that his blue shutters were an eyesore and not up to community standards. Ryan just shrugged it off, but I could tell it bugged him. Karen had that gift. She could make you feel like a trespasser in your own home. Back at my place, I decided to test a theory. I dragged the hose out, hooked it up, and turned the spigot, just a quick burst. Water sprayed fine, nothing unusual. But when I coiled it back, I left it stretched across the yard, a little bait for my mystery guest. Then I waited. That night, I barely slept, ears tuned to every creak and rustle outside. Around 2 a.m., I heard it, the faint hiss of water. I bolted to the window, phone in hand, and there she was, Karen, in a floral nightgown, dragging my hose across the street like she owned it. She hooked it to a handheld sprayer and started washing her pristine white patio furniture. In the moonlight, like it was normal. I stood there, jaw on the floor, recording the whole thing. She didn't even glance my way, just sprayed away, humming to herself, totally shameless. When she finished, she tossed the hose back onto my lawn like it was trash and sashayed home. I checked the footage, crystal clear, time-stamped, undeniable. My water. My hose. Her nerve. I should have been mad, but part of me was almost impressed. Almost. The next morning, I sipped my coffee, replaying the video, and felt that slow burn in my chest. This wasn't just about water. This was about boundaries. And Karen had just crossed mine in a way she'd never forget. I wasn't about to let her turn my yard into her personal faucet buffet. Oh no. If she wanted to play HOA royalty, I'd show her what happens when you mess with the wrong peasant. What would you do if you caught someone stealing from you, right under your nose? Drop a comment below. I'm dying to hear your take. So there I was, Jake Miller, standing in my kitchen at 6 a.m., chugging coffee like it was the elixir of revenge, replaying that grainy footage of Karen Sullivan turning my hose into her personal spa tool. My blood was boiling, not just simmering, but full-on, kettle-screaming boiling. She didn't just steal my water. She stole my peace, my quiet mornings, my right to a dry lawn. And that smug little hum she let out while spraying her patio furniture? It echoed in my head like a taunt. I slammed the mug down, ceramic rattling against the counter, and muttered, "Not today, Karen. Not anymore." I stormed outside, the early sun barely peeking over the rooftops, and checked the hose again. Still damp. Still mocking me. Across the street, Karen's house sat there, all prim and perfect, white shutters gleaming, roses pruned to military precision. It was like she'd built a fortress of entitlement, and I was the peasant daring to knock on the gate. But I wasn't knocking. Oh no. I was kicking it down. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the HOA website, and fired off an email faster than you can say neighborhood justice. Attached the video, typed up the facts, dates, times, water bills jumping from $35 to $87, and hit send. "Let's see her wiggle out of this," I growled, pacing the porch like a caged lion. While that email sailed off into the digital ether, I couldn't sit still. I needed more. Proof. Witnesses. Something to bury her. I marched over to Ryan Carter's place. He's the guy with the eyesore blue shutters. He was out front, sipping an energy drink, tinkering with his motorcycle. "Ryan, man, you see anything weird last night?" I asked, voice tight with adrenaline. He wiped grease off his hands, squinted at me, and smirked. "You mean Karen sneaking around like some suburban ninja?" "Yeah, I saw her. Thought she was watering your grass out of the goodness of her heart. Then I saw her drag that hose back to her place. Ballsy, dude." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Ballsy? She's draining my wallet. You in for backup if this gets messy?" He nodded, eyes glinting. "Oh, I'm in. She's been on my case since I painted those shutters. Let's take her down. Fuel on the fire, baby." I could feel it now. This wasn't just my fight anymore. Meanwhile, across town, Emily Parker was probably still wrestling her kids into breakfast, oblivious to the storm brewing. But I knew she'd have my back too. She complained once about Karen leaving passive-aggressive notes on her car for parking too close to the curb. This was bigger than a hose. This was a reckoning. By noon, the HOA replied. I ripped open the email, heart pounding, expecting a slam dunk. Instead, a gut punch. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Miller. At this time, we encourage neighbors to resolve disputes amicably. No further action will be taken without additional evidence." Additional evidence? I had her on video. I yelled at the screen. Actually yelled. "What do you want? A signed confession?" My dog, Max, bolted under the couch, thinking I'd lost it. Maybe I had. Because that's when it hit me. The HOA wasn't going to save me. Karen had them wrapped around her manicured little finger. I sank into a chair, staring at the ceiling, fury morphing into something darker, determination. If the system wouldn't help, I'd build my own. I grabbed my toolbox, a wild grin creeping across my face, and headed to the garage. See, I'm a mechanic. I fix things. And this? This was a problem begging for a fix. I rummaged through spare parts, duct tape, and a random valve I'd salvaged from a junkyard job. An idea was forming, something so ridiculous, so perfect, it made my pulse race. What if Karen didn't just get caught? What if she got caught, red-handed, drenched, and humiliated? That afternoon, I drove to a construction site a mile away. Workers were hauling equipment, dust kicking up everywhere. I spotted a guy in a hard hat, sipping a Coke, and sauntered over. "Hey, man, quick question," I said, casual as could be. "That tank over there smells like a sewer. What's it for?" He chuckled, wiping sweat off his brow. "Temporary waste storage. Porta potties, runoff, that kind of stuff. Why, you need one." I grinned. "Maybe. Got a neighbor who's, let's say, overstepping. Could I borrow a hookup for a night? Just testing something." He raised an eyebrow, then shrugged. $1.20 and don't tell my boss. Deal. Back home, I worked fast, hard hammering, hands steady. I rigged a splitter to my spigot, one line for clean water, one tapped into a hose I'd bury later, leading straight to that stinky tank. It wasn't permanent, just a little detour for Karen's next heist. I hid the setup under a pile of mulch, coiled the hose back in place, and waited. The trap was set. My chest buzzed with anticipation, half nerves, half glee. She'd never see it coming. That night, I barely slept, imagining her smug face twisting into shock. Around 1 a.m., I heard it again, the hiss. I bolted to the window, phone ready, and there she was, back in action, spraying her driveway like she was staging it for HGTV. I flipped the valve switch from my garage, grinning like a madman. The clean water cut off. The tank line kicked in. And then it happened. A gurgled sputter, a confused pause, and a jet of thick, brown sludge blasted out, soaking her roses, her patio, her pristine little kingdom. She shrieked, slipping on the wet grass, flailing like a cartoon character. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Neighbors' lights flicked on. Ryan poked his head out, jaw-dropping. Emily's kids pressed their faces to the window across the street, giggling. Karen was a mess, dripping and furious, screaming about lawsuits as she stumbled back inside. I had it all on video, 4K glory. This wasn't just revenge. This was a masterpiece. And it was only the beginning. Karen's screams still rang in my ears as I stood at my window, phone trembling in my hands, capturing every second of her sludge-soaked meltdown. My heart was pounding, not just from the thrill, but from the sheer rush of it all. I'd done it. Jake Miller, the guy who fixes transmissions and waters dying tomatoes, had turned the tables on the neighborhood tyrant. Her roses were brown, her patio was a swamp, and her nightgown? Let's just say it wasn't floral anymore. I couldn't stop grinning, wild, unhinged, like I'd just won the lottery with a $1 ticket. Across the street, lights were popping on like fireworks. Ryan Carter stumbled onto his porch, still in pajama pants, laughing so hard he doubled over. "Holy! Jake, you're a genius," he shouted, voice cracking with glee. Emily Parker's kids were squealing from their window, pointing at Karen's flailing figure like it was the best show in town. Even old Mr. Thompson, grumpy retiree 3 houses down, peeked out, muttering something I couldn't hear, but looking suspiciously amused. The cul-de-sac was alive, buzzing, and I was the spark. I uploaded the video to our neighborhood Facebook group before the adrenaline could fade. Title: Local HOA wannabe gets a taste of her own medicine. No sarcasm, no fluff, just the truth. I hit post, leaned back, and watched the chaos unfold. Within minutes, comments flooded in. Emily wrote, "Jake, I owe you a pie for this." Ryan chimed in, "Can we nominate her for Worst Neighbor of the Year?" Someone I didn't even know added, "This is why I moved out of an HOA." My phone buzzed nonstop. Likes, shares, laughing emojis piling up like confetti. By morning, it had 200 views. By lunch, 2,000. By dinner, 50,000. It was spreading faster than gossip at a PDA meeting. But Karen wasn't done, not yet. Around 10 a.m., I spotted her storming out, hair wild, no sun hat, no clipboard, just pure fury. She marched straight to my door, banging like she was auditioning for a cop drama. I opened it, casual as could be, coffee in hand. "Morning, Karen. Sleep well." Her face was red, beet red, and she jabbed a finger at me. "You think this is funny, Jake? You ruined my yard, my furniture, my life. I'm suing you for everything you've got." Her voice cracked, shrill and desperate, and for a split second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered the $87 water bill, and that smug hum. "Sue me," I said, leaning against the frame. "Go ahead. Explain to a judge why you were trespassing at 1 a.m. with my hose." She froze, eyes darting, then huffed and spun away, muttering about hostile environments and legal action. I shut the door, heart racing, but not from fear, from power. She could threaten all she wanted, but I had the footage, the neighbors, the truth. Still, I wasn't naive. Karen wasn't the type to slink off quietly. She'd regroup. She always did. Sure enough, that afternoon, an email from the HOA landed in my inbox. Subject: Urgent complaint, health hazard violation. My stomach dropped. I opened it, hands clenched, and read, "Mr. Miller, a resident has reported an intentional biohazard incident involving waste contamination. You are fined $400 pending investigation. Please attend the next board meeting to address this matter. For $100. I slammed my laptop shut, pacing the kitchen, fury bubbling up again. Karen had flipped the script, painted me as the bad guy. And the HOA? They'd swallowed it whole. I called Ryan, voice tight. "Dude, she's saying I poisoned her yard. They fined me." He whistled low. "She's ruthless. What's the plan?" I grinned, sharp and dangerous. "The plan? Double down. I wasn't paying a dime. Not to her, not to them. I dug through my footage, pulling every clip of her sneaking onto my lawn. 5 nights total, timestamps glowing like neon signs. Then I hit the county website, scouring HOA bylaws. Bingo. Section 3.1c. Unauthorized use of a resident's utilities is subject to fines and mediation. She'd broken their rules, not me. While I built my case, the video kept spreading. It hit Reddit, r/justice served, and exploded. Strangers were tagging friends, making memes of Karen slipping in slow motion. When your HOA Karen gets what's coming, one captioned. Another, hose guy for president. My phone buzzed with notifications from people I'd never met, cheering me on like I was some suburban superhero. It felt good, damn good, but it also lit a fire. If the internet loved Act 1, wait till they saw Act 2. That night, I upgraded the trap. I buried a second hose line, deeper, sneakier, hooked to the same tank, with a remote switch I could flip from my phone. No more manual toggles. This was high-tech revenge. I tested it in the dark, a quick burst into a bucket, and gagged at the stench, perfectly vile, perfectly legal. Karen wanted war? She'd get a sequel. I coiled the hose back, left it gleaming in the moonlight, and waited. My pulse thrummed with anticipation she'd be back, and I'd be ready. Across town, Karen was probably plotting too, hunched over her kitchen table, scribbling complaints. Maybe she thought she'd outsmart me, scare me into submission. But she didn't know me. She didn't know this neighborhood. We were done bowing to her clipboard crown. And when she stepped back into my yard, she'd find out just how far I'd go to protect what's mine. I woke up the next morning with my phone buzzing like a beehive on fire, notifications pouring in, my video now at 300,000 views and climbing. My chest swelled with a mix of pride and disbelief. Jake Miller, suburban nobody, was trending. Memes of Karen slipping in sludge were everywhere. Someone even photoshopped her into a swamp monster with the caption HOAzilla, the reckoning. I laughed so hard my coffee nearly shot out my nose. But the high didn't last. By 9 a.m., a crisp white envelope slid under my door, HOA letterhead glaring at me like a slap in the face. My hand shook as I tore it open. Inside, a summons to a special meeting in 3 days, plus a bumped-up fine, $600. $600. For what? Defending my own property? I stormed to the kitchen, slamming the letter on the counter, my dog Max whining at the noise. She's twisting it, Max, I growled. Karen's turning me into the villain. My voice cracked anger, sure, but something else too. Betrayal. The HOA was supposed to protect us, not her. I grabbed my laptop, pulled up every clip of her trespassing, 5 rock-solid videos, and printed stills, timestamps glowing like battle scars. Then I marched to Ryan's place, adrenaline pumping. He was wrenching on his bike again, grease-streaked and grinning when he saw me. Heard about the fine, man. Karen's playing hardball. I shoved the letter at him. Hardball? She's rewriting reality. You in for this meeting? He wiped his hands, eyes narrowing. Oh, I'm there. She's messed with too many of us. Across the cul-de-sac, Emily was herding her kids into the minivan, probably late for soccer. I jogged over, breathless. Em, you see this? I waved the summons. She glanced at it, then at me, her face softening. Jake, this is nuts. She's the one stealing. I'll back you up. Karen's been leaving notes on my car again. I'm done. Done. That word hit me like a spark. We were all done. A rebellion was brewing, and I was the match. The next 2 days, I prepped like a lawyer on a deadline. I dug through HOA bylaws. Section 3.1c was my ace, and stapled it to a packet with my footage, water bills, even a screenshot of Karen's community standards rant on the neighborhood forum. I wasn't just fighting a fine. I was fighting for sanity. Meanwhile, the internet kept roaring. My video hit 1 million views. Strangers mailed me messages like, "You're a legend, dude," and "Give her hell." One guy sent a link to a motion sensor sprinkler that blasts intruders with water. Tempting, but I had something smelly-o in mind. The meeting rolled around, and I walked into the HOA clubhouse, stuffy room, folding chairs, Karen sitting up front like she owned the place. She traded the sun hat for a blazer, clutching a folder of evidence like it was a shield. The board, 3 bored-looking folks named Linda, Greg, and Tom, shuffled papers while Ryan and Emily flanked me, a quiet army. Karen stood first, voice dripping with fake tears. Jake Miller turned my home into a health hazard. My lawn's ruined, my dog's traumatized, and I've been publicly humiliated. She waved blurry photos of her muddy patio, glaring at me like I'd torched her castle. I stood, heart slamming against my ribs, and laid out my packet. She's trespassed 5 times. Used my water. Drove my bill from $35 to $87. Here's the proof of videos, bills, bylaws. Section 3.1c says she's the violator. The room went silent. Linda adjusted her glasses, flipping through my pages. Greg leaned forward, squinting at a timestamp. Tom coughed, avoiding Karen's stare. She jumped up, voice shrill. Those videos are fake. He's harassing me. But Ryan cut in, calm and deadly. I saw her too. March 15th, 1 a.m., dragging that hose. Emily nodded. She's been on my case for months, notes, complaints, all of it. The board whispered, heads bent together, while Karen's face turned purple. Finally, Linda spoke. Ms. Sullivan, we're issuing you a $450 fine for trespassing. Mr. Miller, your fine's dropped. This ends here. Victory, sweet, sharp, and mine. Karen stormed out, muttering about small-minded fools, but I caught her glance, pure venom. She wasn't done fighting. That night, I celebrated with Ryan and Emily over pizza, laughter bouncing off my walls. The internet cheered too. My post about the meeting got 10,000 likes. But at 2 a.m., my phone pinged, a motion alert from the hose cam. I bolted up, pulse racing, and checked the feed. Karen, in a hoodie, sneaking onto my lawn, bolt cutters glinting in her hand. She snipped the hose lock I'd added, hooked it up, and turned the spigot. I grinned, flipped the remote switch, and watched the magic unfold. A sputter, a gurgle, then bam, a jet of tank sludge sprayed her. Her car, her precious sonnet she'd dropped. She shrieked, slipped, and landed in a puddle of her own making. Neighbors woke again, Ryan filming from his porch, Emily's kids giggling. I posted the clip, Karen strikes back, and loses again. By morning, it had 500,000 views. Her kingdom was crumbling, and I was the wrecking ball. But that look in her eyes at the meeting? It stuck with me. She'd lost the battle, but the war wasn't over. All right, you've made it this far, props to you for sticking with me through this wild ride. Ever had a moment where you thought you'd won, only to feel the ground shift under you again? That's where I was, Jake Miller, staring at my phone at 3 a.m., watching Karen Sullivan slip in a puddle of tank sludge for the second time in a week. My heart was a jackhammer, half laughing, half bracing for whatever she'd throw next. Her car was dripping, her hoodie was trashed, and that sunhat? A soggy relic in the muck. I posted the clip, Karen's last stand, and crashed into bed, buzzing with triumph. But deep down, I knew. People like her don't just vanish. Morning hit like a freight train. My phone screamed with notifications. The video had exploded. 1.2 million views by sunrise, comments flooding in faster than I could read. Hose guy, you're my hero. Karen's done. Pack it up. Ryan texted me a laughing emoji, and dude, you broke the internet. Emily dropped off a blueberry muffin with a note, for the legend. Even Mr. Thompson shuffled over, gruff as ever, and muttered, good job, kid, before handing me a $5 bill for the water bill. I stood on my porch, muffin in hand, soaking it in. My cul-de-sac was alive, united, and Karen's reign was toast. But then I saw it. Her house, silent, curtains drawn tighter than a drum. Too quiet. My gut twisted. She wasn't screaming, wasn't banging on my door, wasn't even glaring from her porch. I'd expected rage, lawsuits, something. Instead, nothing. I checked the hose cam, empty. The trap sat coiled, untouched, gleaming in the sun like a retired champ. By noon, a moving truck rumbled up her driveway. No warning, no fanfare. Workers hauled out her furniture, those white patio chairs, still faintly stained, and that pink flamingo she'd staked by her mailbox. Karen emerged, sunglasses on, head down, barking orders but avoiding eye contact. She was leaving. I watched, coffee going cold, as the truck swallowed her kingdom. Part of me wanted to cheer victory, right? But another part felt weird. Not guilt, hell no, but a flicker of disbelief. Had I really driven her out? Ryan jogged over, grinning. She's gone, man. You did it. Emily pulled up, kids spilling out, and waved. Jake, we're free. Free. That word hit hard. The street felt lighter, like a storm had passed. Karen climbed into her SUV, didn't look back, and peeled out. By dusk, a for sale sign stabbed her lawn. The internet lost its mind. 2 million views now, memes morphing Karen into a cartoon villain slipping on banana peels. Strangers messaged me. You gave us hope. Next time, add glitter to the sludge. One guy sent a mock HOA complaint form with reason, being too awesome. I laughed, but my favorite part wasn't the fame. It was the quiet. No more wet grass, no $87 bills, no clipboard tyrant. That night, I grilled burgers with Ryan and Emily in my backyard, Max chasing her kids, laughter bouncing off the fences. Peace, real, tangible peace. A week later, a young couple, Tyler and Sarah Brooks, moved into Karen's old place. They knocked on my door, all smiles, holding a plate of cookies. Hey, we're the new neighbors. Okay if we hook up our own hose. I nearly hugged them. Yeah, go for it. Just keep it on your side. They laughed, clueless about the saga, and I felt a weight lift. Their toddler ran through a sprinkler the next day, clean water, their own setup, and I watched from my porch, grinning like an idiot. This was it, the neighborhood I'd missed. But Karen wasn't gone for good, not entirely. A buddy from across town, Mike Evans, emailed me days later. Dude, your Karen's here. Complaining about my porch light already. Dragged my hose last night, sound familiar? I chuckled, sent him my valve setup pics, and wrote, give her the sequel. Recorded. 2 days later, you did compost juice this time, not sewage. She slipped, screamed, and went viral again. Karen, the remix, hit 800,000 views. She was a traveling circus of chaos, but now, everyone was ready. I leaned back, sipping a beer, and thought about it all. A hose, a stupid, $15 hose, had unraveled her throne, rallied a street, and turned me into some accidental legend. Online, people begged for more. Make a series. Sell shirts. I started a blog, Suburban Showdowns, posting the saga, minus names, with tips for handling HOA nonsense. It took off, 50,000 hits in a month. I even sold a few tees, Hose Justice in bold green. Cash was nice, but the real win? My tomato plant bloomed, finally, red and proud under a quiet spigot. So here's the deal. Karen's out there, probably terrorizing Mike now, but I'm done fighting. My yard's dry, my neighbors are friends, and my mornings are mine again. What about you? Ever had a Karen try to rule your life? Drop a comment. Tell me your story. Subscribe if you want more neighborhood madness. I've got plenty left to share. For now, I'm watering my tomatoes, not wars, and it feels like home again.